Hey, it's Kyle here, and today I'll be continuing my series of videos where I explore all the awesome content in Star Wars that is animated. If you haven't been watching these videos, basically I am a huge Star Wars fan, but a huge hole in all my Star Wars fandom was basically the animated content. When it first came out, I just never got around to watching it. As more seasons and more series came out, I just fell farther and farther behind. It felt a little daunting to try to catch up, but with 2020 being crazy, pandemic, everybody being stuck at home, I thought this was the perfect chance to finally catch up on all the awesome Star Wars animated content. So far, I have watched Star Wars The Clone Wars, so my reviews for the movie and all the animated seasons of The Clone Wars is up on the channel. Please check those out if you haven't yet. But in today's video, I'll be starting my exploration of the series Star Wars Rebels. Rebels is kind of set as leading up to, I guess the first season is before A New Hope. Is kind of, the Empire has been established, but the Rebel Alliance doesn't really exist yet, so you're starting to get the first hints of rebellion in the Empire. So that's what season 1 is kind of focusing on. The Clone Wars was so awesome, it got me super excited for Rebels. I know Dave Filoni is involved in all the Star Wars animated content, so I knew we were in good hands. So I was kind of interested to see what this new time period for the animated series, new characters being introduced, new assuming planets and stuff like that, settings, plots, all that type of stuff. I was really interested to see how Rebels would compare to Clone Wars, how different it would be, how similar. So overall, I really enjoyed Rebels for the season 1. Good season. I would say my gut reaction season 1 Rebels versus Clone Wars is probably preferred Clone Wars more. Really enjoyed Rebels a lot. I think one issue I had with the first season of Rebels is Ezra, who's one of the main characters. And at some point I just felt Ezra was slightly annoying. You know, he's I guess in this season he's supposed to be kind of preteen, young teenager. I'm not sure exactly his age, but with a character in the age, you know, like a lot of people that age, he can be a little annoying and stuff. So that was a downside of him being a big focus of this season, is because you just have one of the main characters being, I'm just not super into this character yet. I'll be interested to see how my opinion of Ezra changes as the series goes on, but at least season 1, I was like, little mixed feelings on him. But overall, like I said, I really enjoyed it, just not quite as much as Clone Wars. Some of my, I would say, overall, the characters I did find interesting. The Rebel Squad, I think probably my favorite. I'm trying to think who I would consider my favorite. I might have to say, sorry, I'm going back and looking at all the characters to try. I don't know, maybe Canon was, for season 1, I might have to go with Kanan, sorry. Kind of the Rebel Squad, I really enjoyed different aspects of them. So Zeb was really cool. Sabine, very cool Mandalorian kind of love Mandalorian content, and then Hera, the pilot. Overall, the squad I really enjoyed. Even the droid Chopper. Star Wars knows how to do great droid content. But I think at least for season 1, I would have to say Kanan was probably my favorite character. It's hard call though, because I could, after certain episodes, I could easily send a different one of those characters was my favorite for the season. So that being said, let me just kind of go over a little overview of the episodes for season 1. So, season 1, you start off with Spark of Rebellion, which is a kind of 2-episode story arc, and basically introduces the characters. You know, the biggest difference, at least for season 1 of Rebels versus Clone Wars, Rebels is kind of told in chronological order. It's story after story, where Clone Wars jumps around a lot. So since Rebels, the big advantage of telling it traditionally, like episode, then the next episode, timeline-wise, is you're able to do your standard, here's the new series, let's introduce all the characters, introduce the world they're in, and go from there. So, 1 and 2 is kind of your standard plot, pilot that you're used to seeing for most shows, where it's kind of more, it's not as much about the plot and the opening, it's more about like, let's introduce you to these people, what their characteristics are, what the world's like. And I did a really good job of very quickly you get in feeling like, all right, this is what this group is like. So I thought they did a great job of doing that. Next up, you have Droids in Distress. I was very excited with this episode when C-3PO and R2-D2 were brought in. I didn't know with Rebels if you were going to get any characters from either the Clone Wars or the Star Wars movies interacting with the characters in this series. Just because it's set on a different planet, it doesn't seem like they're connected at this point with the wider Star Wars world that we're more familiar with. So when episode 3 came around and R2-D2 C-3PO showed up, I was like, yes, because one, I always love episodes in the Clone Wars that focus on those 2 droids. So I was very excited for that, and not surprised with their involvement in that episode. Definitely was one of my favorite episodes of season 1. Next up, you have Fight or Flight. So, you get this is kind of like almost like a buddy cop type episode with Ezra and Zeb. They've been having some tension in this kind of episode where they start bonding, which makes it season 1. Ezra's new to the group, and there's almost episodes for each one where he gets a chance to kind of bond with the group and kind of find his place in the group. And I think this is the episode that I really started. I really like Zeb a lot. Wasn't sure how his character was going to develop after they were introduced at the beginning of the first couple episodes, but this episode was like, oh, Zeb's kind of a cool character. I'm enjoying this dynamic that him and Ezra develops in this episode. The Rise of the Old Masters, so you basically have Ezra start his Jedi training, and Kanan kind of going down that role, and you kind of getting a little bit of Force being bringing, which I love. Star Wars doesn't feel quite the same without the Force. Breaking Ranks. Love this one. Ezra goes undercover Imperial Academy, and kind of you're getting a little bit more explanation of what the Empire is like on this planet, and you're behind the scenes stuff, which is kind of cool. Kind of getting this, you really never got to see a whole lot of Star Wars content on the Galactic Empire side, solely focusing on this is what it's like in the Empire. No Republic people, no rebels, just Empire. And so Ezra's delved into this world, and it's kind of interesting to see how the Empire views itself, the various cadets he's working with, which ones are fully on board with the Empire, the other ones are just like, this is just my best opportunity, but I'm not super crazy about the Empire. Enjoyed that one. Out of Darkness, you get a little bit of this our little group of small little rebels, are beginning to kind of become connected with a larger rebel movement with Fulcrum, kind of like seems like a rebel controller or a rebel informant who's helping give them missions and stuff like that. And you begin to see the beginnings of like how they're going to connect with the other rebel groups and larger rebel movements. So very cool world building in this one, and you also get the tension within the group of the ones who are like, can we stay on our own, or the ones who want to kind of become involved in this larger movement. And this is like the episode where you really begin to get to see Hera's important role in the group, and that she's kind of like a moral leader of the group, or she's beginning to become that. Empire Day is I really like the concept of this one. This kind of reminded me of Firefly, where you have I think it's Unification Day, where the crew of the Serenity purposely seeks out a bar that's very pro unification, and they kind of pick a fight. Empire Day reminds me a little bit of that, and it's basically the planets celebrating the anniversary of the establishment of the Empire, and you kind of are seeing how the Empire is viewed in the parts of the world that very much adopted to it and are really celebrating it, versus groups like our rebel group here that are not so crazy about the Empire, and Empire Day means something different for them. This also gives you if they mentioned early in the series, I missed it, but it gives you the first idea of where the timeline of this falls. This is the 15th anniversary of the establishment of the Empire, so you realize how much time has passed. And, the Empire's been around long enough that they are really established at this point. This also kind of helps explain why a lot of people seem to have no knowledge of Jedi, because basically Jedi have been gone for 15 years. So for a younger generation like Ezra, they almost all like Jedis are myth. They've never really seen a Jedi or knew it was a real thing. And it shows you how effective the Empire was in stamping out the knowledge of the Jedi and what the Republic was like. Gathering forces. It was okay. You get Ezra dabbling a little bit in the dark side, so you're getting a little more of that. So it's interesting. Wasn't one of my favorite episodes of the season. You're beginning to see more of the, the big bad villains for this season, the Inquisitor, which is kind of an interesting character. And that's what the next episode really focuses on, the Path of the Jedi, which you kind of get Ezra and Kanan kind of dealing with Ezra's seeming interest in aspects of the dark side, which was kind of cool. Seeing that debate and how it's pulling out, and you're kind of comparing Ezra in some ways. You're beginning to get comparisons. Ezra, like, is Ezra going down a similar path that Anakin did? Is Ezra going to do the same path, or is he going to take a different step? Which is, I think, it's kind of cool, because then you, as this goes along, which I'm assuming this is how the plot's going to develop, you can kind of compare, like, oh, this is how the Anakin storyline could have went if he had chosen differently, or if Ezra goes the same path to Anakin. It's like, are all Jedi, especially ones who are older when they first start to be trained, are they all doomed to go down the same path that Anakin did? Idiot Saray might be my favorite episode of the season, because one, you introduce another classic Star Wars character, Lando. You have the gambling aspect of it that, like all Star Wars fans love when you involve that aspect with Lando and Han and stuff like that. And seeing Lando and all his charisma interacting with our rebel group is really cool. I think in some ways their interaction with Lando helped them become a tighter group. I just really enjoyed it. And it's also kind of fun seeing Lando at this point where he's not at Cloud City yet. He's definitely not a rebel yet. He's very much a gambler that's a little bit out of his luck, and kind of rebuild his future. And you're kind of like, how does he get from here to not that far in the future, owning Cloud City and stuff? So, loved it. I could see all the Lando content in the world. So, not surprisingly, that I love Idiot Saray. Vision of Hope. You get Ezra continuing his lightsaber and Jedi training, and you get a little bit of his desire to connect to a larger rebel movement, and specifically former senator, I think he's exiled in the storyline, Travis, I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it, I could be wrong, Travis, I could be mispronouncing again. I'm always awful at pronouncing Star Wars related stuff. But you get that, and it's interesting how it goes, and then it's kind of like a classic story, like of looking up to a hero, and then when you're meeting the hero, it coming short. Basically, when you find out the hero is going to betray you, what's happened in this storyline. But in some ways, this betrayal makes our group more committed to the rebel cause and not the other way that easily kind of gone. So that was kind of cool. You get Tarkin in the next episode, Call to Action. So love Tarkin's little story arc in the Clone Wars. So I'm very excited that we're getting more Tarkin. And these the Tarkin episodes, is basically he's brought in to kind of help combat this growing rebel cell that our group is growing to as they become more and more successful. Tarkin's kind of brought in to let's bring in a legit, competent Imperial to fight this group. So I love on the next few episodes where you get Tarkin's efforts to defeat this rebel cell, and it's really shown he's smart, he knows what he's doing, but our rebel cell is getting more and more effective as well. So it's a nice pairing of these ones for the last couple episodes of the season. So like I said, really enjoyed Rebels. If I had to rank this season compared to stuff gets the Clone Wars, I don't know, maybe on par with season 6 of Clone Wars, which was maybe my least favorite, maybe. Enjoyed it. Like I said, overall, I would still rank Clone Wars as better, but I think it's a little unfair because, I had all those seasons become attached to the Clone War characters, story plot. In this one, you're judging, the first season is just 15 episodes of Rebels, so you're still kind of developing this connection with the characters. They're still developing the plot, the world, so it's hard to compare it after just watching one season. But I did enjoy the first season. So I'd first off say, if you enjoyed the Clone Wars and you've never seen Rebels, give Rebels a try. The season 1's actually interesting. It's I think it has a lot of potential. After watching season 1, I was like, I think this show clearly has potential, and I'm very interested in see where it goes. I'm also kind of interested to see how much it interacts with, as I mentioned, you had Lando, Tarkin, R2-D2, C-3PO. If you get any of those other characters from the larger Star Wars universe in future seasons. So in the comment section below, let me know how do you compare Rebels to Clone Wars? What are some of your favorite characters from Rebels? I'd be interested in seeing what your opinion is. As always, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please also avoid plot spoilers in the bottom for people that haven't seen Rebels yet. And thank you for watching these series of videos where I explore the world of Star Wars animated content. Hope you're enjoying it. See you next time, and may the Force be with you.